The advice, just keep busy, just stay busy. You may have heard this from your therapist, a very well-intended therapist. You may have heard this from friends and family. Just keep yourself busy after your divorce or after your breakup. You may have Googled your eyeballs out on how to heal after a narcissist and have come across the words keep busy numerous times. I want to tell you why this is a terrible idea from a trauma lens, a trauma-informed perspective. So the first reason that this will keep you stuck is that if you were in a chaotic relationship where maybe it started off great, maybe you were convinced that you had met somebody finally that was healthy and then it slowly started deteriorating. If you lived in a chaotic, uncertain relationship, and you maybe felt like you were being gaslit or didn't trust yourself in that relationship or didn't feel safe to vocalize or speak your needs, what happens is that relationship and your interactions in that relationship change how your brain operates, how your brain is literally wired. And when your brain is wired a certain way, it also makes you feel certain things in your body, in your nervous system. So if you felt on edge or uncertain or like you were walking on eggshells, that wiring starts getting laid down as your foundation. And that becomes your emotional norm to feel on edge or to feel uncertain or to feel these other uncomfortable feelings that you don't want to feel, like anxiety or sadness or, feeling hopeless or whatever the case may be. When you leave the relationship, there may be some temporary relief from that pattern. But what often happens is because you've already created that foundation in your brain wiring and you set the thermostat in your nervous system to feel on edge and to kind of feel amped up all the time, you are going to very likely unconsciously co-create that same level of chaos in other areas of your life. And we see this with women all the time who go from a divorce or an unhealthy romantic relationship, and then they go right into a 70 or 80-hour work week. They decide to get an MBA, or they decide to go after a promotion. They decide to start a side hustle. Basically, their life is nonstop busy and also very anxiety producing from the moment they wake up in the morning until the moment she goes to bed at night. And there's all of this internal pressure to get things right, to get over her ex, to move forward. But because she's staying chronically busy, and this may be you if you resonate with this, if you're staying chronically busy, the biggest thing that you need to know is that you're really living in a trauma response. And staying chronically busy is basically your brain being in a traumatized state, living hypervigilant, feeling like you're in fight or flight or survival mode, and your nervous system feeling contracted and feeling like you're on edge all the time, or feeling anxious, or I never have enough time, or you're feeling overwhelmed at work. That emotional state is what subconsciously you believe is normal for you. And so if you're not getting it from your ex, or you still may be getting it from your ex, especially if you're going through a tumultuous divorce process, you will find a way to feel those feelings in other aspects of your life, like finding yourself in an unfulfilling career environment, finding yourself with multiple projects on your plate and you don't have enough time to do them, and then you feel like a piece of what. So staying chronically busy in some ways will give you temporary relief from your feelings. I'm going to talk about this in the second point, but it doesn't heal your trauma. In fact, it can keep you traumatized, because if a chaotic environment, a chaotic relationship was your norm for many years, and you're suddenly free of that, your body and your brain have been conditioned to live like that for so long. So you're essentially, in some ways, neurologically and biochemically addicted to feeling anxious and addicted to feeling on edge. So if you're not getting that fix from your ex, you may get your fix from being a workaholic, being chronically busy, wearing yourself out emotionally, You may get your fix by constantly talking about what your ex did to you, because every time you talk about what your ex did to you, your brain fires and wires the same stuff, and your body, your nervous system, fires the same neuropeptides, and you feel the same unhealthy feelings. But because it's so normal for you to feel that way, that's just your setting. So staying chronically busy will essentially keep you stuck. And we've talked to so many high achieving women who are doing on the outside all of the right things. She's keeping herself busy in work. She's keeping herself busy with, Orange Theory classes and hiking and meetup groups and meeting her friends for wine and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, when she comes home, she still feels anxious. She can't sleep at night. She still feels inherently defective. And because these things, these activities, this doing doesn't heal trauma. Healing trauma requires deeper work, and it requires, in most cases, a somatic approach. Somatic means mind and body. When you're talking about what your ex did to you, or when you're analyzing the past in the rearview mirror, you're just on a neurological level reinforcing that programming, and also reinforcing your emotional thermostat to the past. The other thing that I wanted to highlight here is that if you are one that keeps yourself chronically busy, a lot of experts will say, keep yourself busy. This will help take your mind off of your ex. And this is great, especially if you're, maybe trying to stop researching narcissism or trying to move forward. But I want to talk about the downside of taking your mind off of your feelings and distracting yourself from your feelings. So if you have a pattern of unhealthy relationships, and maybe you have an overall pattern of getting into really demanding work environments where you feel like you have to be perfect, or you have a hard time setting boundaries because you want people to like you, or you are an overachiever, and you identify as somebody who came from a childhood where you never felt like you got your needs met. Maybe it was as severe as maybe one of your parents was an alcoholic or verbally or emotionally abusive, or maybe you came from a household where you kind of were in competition with one of your siblings. So all of this goes back to your childhood, like most things do. But if you have that programming, if you have that setting in your psychology, and you've never had a healthy relationship, if you choose to keep busy all of the time, what you're essentially doing is numbing yourself and distracting yourself from what I will call your big self, your true self. The Dr. Richard Schwartz, he's the creator of internal family systems, which is a trauma-informed method on healing this type of complex or relational trauma. If you enter relationships from what I will call your small self, meaning this is the part of you that feels that you're longing for a partner, you're longing for a relationship, a healthy partner, and you believe that that's going to help take away your feelings of loneliness or unhappiness, and you enter into that relationship from your small self, the part of you that hasn't healed her wounding, you will you will try to stay in that relationship by 3 different methods. You will try to change your partner. You will try to change yourself to fit into that relationship. And that often looks like cutting off parts of your personality, molding yourself into what you think your partner wants you to be in order to make the relationship feel safe. The other thing that you will do to stay in an unhealthy relationship is distracting yourself and numbing yourself. So if you stayed for many years in an unhealthy marriage or relationship, it's quite likely that you got very good at already keeping yourself busy to avoid the reality and the emotional pain of what you were living in. And so if you continue to do that after you leave the relationship, you're basically taking the set of behavior you used to cope in an unhealthy way on your future to now cope also in an unhealthy way. And it doesn't, again, staying chronically busy does not heal your trauma. It is basically your brain and your nervous system still in that programming, wanting to get your fix by keeping your nervous system amped up, by feeling like you never have enough time, by feeling like your work is always chaotic, by feeling like There are never good men in your area. So these are the main downsides. And the final point that I want to make here is that if you feel like you can't slow down, if you have a hard time slowing down, if you have a hard time setting boundaries, the moment you take some time to relax, you start immediately feeling lonely. I see and speak with a lot of women who stay chronically busy as a way to avoid their feelings and deal or cope with the aftermath of a divorce or a narcissistic relationship. And then at the end of the day, when their kids are asleep, or maybe their kids are no longer in the house with them anymore, and they don't have anything to do, that's when all of this stuff starts coming up to the surface. Right when she's laying down to go to sleep at night, right when she's staring at the ceiling, maybe she's been scrolling on her phone, looking at articles on how do I date at 55, or how do I overcome my narcissist, all of these things. The feelings start to come up the moment she starts to slow down. And so we talk to a lot of women who get in this pattern, and they'll sit in this pattern for months, sometimes years, and they just habituate themselves and normalize, like they normalize staying in an unhealthy relationship. They'll normalize living like this, and unfortunately try to keep working or overworking or doing more things to fill the internal void that's inside. The only way to really fill the internal void and to feel happy every day and to attract a healthy partner in the future is to consistently heal your trauma. And doing that requires using evidence-based methods, which is what we use here at Break the Cycle. It requires a somatic protocol. So trauma is not just stored in your brain. There's lots of research. Just search the internet on this stuff. It's not just stored up here logically. I mean, you can analyze the past until the cows come home, and still at 45 or 55 or 65, find yourself in an unhealthy relationship, or still feel like you can't trust yourself, because it is an emotional imprint. There is an emotional means your nervous system, all the stuff below your neck and the nerve endings that course throughout your body and signal hormones. So you need to be using a somatic protocol consistently to help rewire literally how you think every day. And if you rewire how you think every day, this also rewires how you feel every day. You need to be doing that consistently. Consistency is key in shifting any deeply ingrained pattern. We see this everywhere. If you want to get in shape and lose weight and put on 10 pounds of lean muscle mass, you're going to need to be in the gym consistently, and you're going to need to be eating clean and adequate amounts of protein consistently to see the result. When people go to talk therapy, maybe work gets in the way, life gets in the way, they don't go consistently, they don't have a structure. 90% of the time, they're not using a mind-body method. They don't have a roadmap forward. They feel like they're just rehashing and venting in those sessions. They don't really feel like they're moving forward. So you need consistency. You need an evidence-backed plan. And then you also need to be taking steps out of your comfort zone to widen your window of tolerance. Widening your window of tolerance, ironically, to feeling happy. So if you have been distracting yourself and keeping busy, it's very likely that feeling emotionally numb or disassociating or feeling like something's wrong with you, or feeling angry or frustrated or discouraged or sad or lonely, these are your primary emotional homes. Something funny, the irony is that a lot of people would rather kind of stick with their comfort zone of the feelings that they know rather than feel consistently happy, because from a trauma lens, the times that maybe you did feel happy in your marriage or your relationship, there was always the next shoe that was going to drop. There was always something that was going to take that away. And this may be the pattern that goes all the way back to your childhood. So there may be a lack of trust in you that you can truly trust that can I be happy and maintain this level of happiness? Can I truly trust myself and feel happy and attract a great partner and weather the storms that will come even in a healthy relationship? So you need to, step 1, somatic work, trauma-informed plan. Step 2, consistency. Step 3 is widening your window of tolerance to happiness and breaking your biochemical addiction to stress and feeling on edge and feeling anxious or feeling numb. And this is exactly what we help our clients do here inside of Break the Cycle. We work with high achieving professional women who usually on the outside, they look like they have it all together in their lives. They're super successful in other life areas, but behind closed doors, they feel like a failure when it comes to their love life. They feel like a failure when it comes to the example that they've set for their kids in terms of relationship modeling. They're usually very hard on themselves internally. They're their own worst critic. And so if you know that you need more than maybe what talk therapy has given you, or you feel like you have plateaued and you're not moving forward, and you eventually want to have a healthy relationship, and you know that your pattern of staying chronically busy is like a Band-Aid. It's not fixing the deeper root cause, which is relational trauma. Then I invite you to book a free breakthrough session. Go to bethanydotson.com/talk. We will have an honest conversation about your patterns. We'll take a close, deep dive look at your patterns. Most importantly, we'll take a deep dive look at what you want. We are coaches, so we help people get what they want, right? So we want to look at what it is. How do you want to feel every day? What kind of relationship do you eventually want to create in your life? And if we feel confident that we can help you, we'll show you exactly what that will look like, what all of that entails. And if we can't help you for whatever reason, we'll steer you in the path that's right for you. Qualifications that make somebody a good candidate for this work. First and foremost, you're single or divorced, or you may even be in the process of a divorce. But the most important thing is that you are 100% done with your ex. We unfortunately can't help anybody who is still longing to go back to dysfunction or still longing to go back to an addictive cycle with a person who probably has his, her, or her own trauma. So you need to be 100% done with your ex. Other qualification, stable and secure and successful in other life areas. And this is because complex trauma is best healed when other areas of your life are even, they're going well, and they're not major sources of stress. And then the last qualification, we like for people to have already had prior traditional therapy that shows that they've had an invested interest in healing themselves. They've already taken steps to heal themselves, but they're still kind of stuck. They've taken off the runway, but they're not where they would like to be ultimately. If that's you, I invite you to book a free breakthrough call, bethanydotson.com/talk. Have a beautiful day, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.